I've been known to pocket an item or two, put it in one of my own boxes because it makes me feel closer to them. And I know that sounds like grave robbing, but just give me the benefit of the doubt on this one. Sometimes I hope that my kids and grandkids, when they're older, might go through my boxes to learn about me. But the thing is, will a string of Mardi Gras beads mean anything to anyone but me? I mean, nothing is labeled. No one will know that I got those beads during an insane melee that happened post-Super Bowl in a small New Orleans bar after Channing Tatum got served by another patron in that bar, and then the two of them did this impromptu dance-off. I didn't even realize that dance battles happened in the real world. Clearly, I didn't go to musical theater school. But for me, as a huge Step Up fan, watching Channing and his challenger was like watching Step Up 3D in actual 3D with smells. I mean, good smells, but smells nonetheless. Sometimes it feels like I'm essentially recreating the ending of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just boxes and boxes organized and stored, each full of stories, but with no one to tell them. I mean, I clearly want people to know me. What's holding me back from telling these stories? Over the course of the past decade, some anecdotes about my childhood have come out in articles and podcasts and talk shows, and the response frequently is, "You should write a book." But I've always hesitated because I knew that if I was going to, I'd need to tell the full story, something I really wasn't sure I was ready for. You want a funny anecdote? I have it. But exposing the truth behind these anecdotes is something I'm anxious about doing. I mean, these are stories that only a handful of people actually know. So for the first time, I am opening up my boxes and putting my collection of stories on display for all to see. And I think some might surprise you as much as they surprised me. Part 1. The Old Testament. I found a fire. Confession. I'm an arsonist. I mean, technically, I was more of a fire starter, kind of like Drew Barrymore in Firestarter, but with a way less convoluted backstory. When I was in the 5th grade, I almost accidentally burned down a family resort to the ground just because I didn't want to ride a horse. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I was the only child of divorced parents, and when I was 7 years old, my mom got remarried to my stepdad, Hunter. He was completely different than my dad. He was twice divorced with multiple kids, a commercial truck driver for a local supermarket chain who wore cowboy boots, raised quail, owned horses, and guns. Lots and lots of guns. Now, while not physically imposing, he carried himself with the energy of a person who was looking for a fight, or just got finished with one. The knife on his cowboy belt only reinforced the image that this was someone you didn't want to fuck with. The first time I felt that energy directed at me was when I told him I didn't want to call him dad. I would prefer to call him by his name, Hunter. And that was largely because my real dad was very much a part of my daily life. And honestly, it felt weird to be told to call this other man, who I barely knew, dad. However, instead of accepting my decision with grace, he was already a father to his own kids after all, Hunter stormed out of the room in anger and proceeded not to speak to me and ignore my presence, like I was a ghost. I lasted about a week. I finally broke when he locked me out of the house in my pajamas in the freezing cold and wouldn't let me in until I said, "Dad, let me in." When I finally did, the door opened, and that's when I began to learn the delicate dance I needed to do around Hunter. I had to play by his rules to get what I needed. At times, it could be gregarious, silly, and loving. And then as quickly as you could snap your fingers, he would become vindictive, mean, and violent. Once during a game of Monopoly that he had been losing, he landed on one of my properties. I looked down at my deed to see how much I was owed, but he locked eyes with me. "Do you really want to charge me?" It was an odd question. Of course I wanted to charge him. I mean, that was the game. Yes, I laughed as I pointed at the rent owed. But he gave me another warning. "Think about what you're doing." All of a sudden, the energy shifted. Something much bigger was happening, and I didn't get it. as he held.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.